Very good evening, and thanks for clicking on to the Thursday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. It's the 20th of March, and we have certainly got a lot of things going on at the moment weather-wise. But before we get into the video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you happen to be free tomorrow evening between 8 and 9 p.m., I do have a live stream that will be an Easter weather special, looking at all things weather, not just for the UK, Ireland, Europe, looking at the overall Easter weather, looking at extremes that have taken place in the past, looking at April, but also we're going to throw in a little bit of a global weather report as well, looking at the extremes that are taking place around the world. So I'm pretty excited about this tomorrow evening, 8 p.m. UK local time, and we will hopefully have you on to leave a comment. I'll hopefully try and answer any questions that people may have as well. So do check that out if you are free and available tomorrow evening at around 8 till 9 p.m. So like I say, very, very active weather pattern at the moment. MJO rotating through phases 7, 8, and 1. That is favourable for high latitude blocking. Lo and behold, the North Atlantic Oscillation is going to the most negative it's been since the cold spell in mid-January. No coincidence there. But unfortunately, time of the year and other aspects as well means that we are almost flirting with a chilly pattern. It's nothing particularly cold, but one thing is very, very wet, and this is the upcoming 7-day period. So we're going to maintain this wet theme across England and Wales, drier than average across Scotland, as you can see here, and that is thanks to the presence of building high pressure as we progress through the Easter weekend to the north and northwest over Greenland. We're going to see that positive really become quite strong. Very wet conditions across France and also Spain and Portugal. We are going to see a very, very nasty Easter weekend through much of the Iberian Peninsula as the deepening trough maxes out. We've got areas of low pressure, multiple new centres developing as the energy rotates down along the base of the trough across southwestern Europe and northwestern Africa. Got quite a strong jet stream as well, moving all the way south to the Canary Islands as well. So quite an unsettled and cool regime here. But before we continue with the video, I wanted to look at some interesting things that have taken place now. Storm Nelson, named by the AE Met, which is the Spanish Met Service, that storm actually produced I think it was a 74-mile-per-hour wind somewhere within the coastal areas of the UK in the last 24 hours. But as the centre of the low, which actually deepened to around 956 millibars just off the coast of Ireland back yesterday, that centre has then pushed southwards and skirting the southwestern corner of England. And the core of the strongest winds on the south and southwestern flank of that low actually made impact on northwestern France. And we actually seen a wind gust at Point de Raz on the very exposed northwestern corner of I think this is Brittany. It's either Normandy or Brittany. I always get mixed up between the two. Actually produced a gust of 113 miles per hour. So nothing to sniff at in terms of strength of gusts in northwestern France. Very windy, nasty conditions in southern UK, but nothing as strong as what we've seen. This is a great capture here by the Meteor Express of Storm Nelson and those winds and waves battering the northwestern corner. This is a very, very exposed spot, and when you've had 6 months, it feels like 6 months anyway, of one system after another, because remember, really since the second half of the summer through the winter and even into the first half of spring, we've had a southerly displaced jet stream. So the core of wettest conditions, northern France and southern UK, that's been the mainstay, especially through autumn and during the winter season across this region of the world here. We had the blocking up towards Greenland, really from about July last year, and that has really continued. The reasons for that remains a little bit unknown and a little bit questionable. I suppose the easterly QBO has had an influence. We've also had you could argue that the Tonga Hunga volcanic eruption back a couple of years ago, releasing a lot more water vapor into the atmosphere. That may or may not have an impact. I think it's had such a huge influence on the atmosphere that it's got to be having some sort of an indirect consequence. Also, by the way, check out marfoganweather.com. There is a link in the description below for the Easter weekend forecast. That was released early this morning. I'd hoped to actually release it yesterday, but unfortunately I ran out of time, as quite often seems to be the case these days. But this is what I wanted to show you. This is a tweet here by Bradley Nichols of the snow over Dartmoor. Six inches of snow. Now this was a surprise, I have to be honest with you. Now we knew that there was cold air to the northern UK that was drifting south, and there was a lot of moisture, one frontal system after another getting driven north on the eastern flank of that centre of low pressure, that large area of low pressure that had been dominating for the last 24-36 hours or so. With the centre just to the west of the UK and Ireland, you've got all that weather coming in from a southerly direction, and we've had a lot of more moisture. We've had a lot of moisture that's been getting lifted north, and that has just been the case for weeks after week after week. I know there's people getting fed up, but this was an interesting one, and the reason why we seen this was some of that cold air that been getting dragged off Greenland and even within the Arctic. That circulation was so large that it was able to draw some of that cold air off Greenland. It moderated as it crossed over the North Atlantic, but then it rotated around the base of that low pressure circulation and dragged in enough cold air that it actually allowed precipitation to fall as snow. Now, one thing to drag in cold air, but also what we've got a thing called dynamic cooling, radiative evaporative cooling, where the actual column, as the air precipitates, it actually draws some of that colder air that's suspended within the mid levels of the atmosphere. It then gets drawn down to the surface, and that is what happened here in the southwest of England. We also seen this in moderate elevations in Wales as well. Some significant amounts of snowfall also, but this is a very impressive late March snow event for southern England. Even Plymouth recording some significant snow, and obviously that is pretty much down to sea level. So this is another tweet here by Nikki showing the snow in Plymouth in Devon. So bear in mind that you're pretty close to sea level here as well. So yeah, quite an interesting event for sure that has affected the south and southwest of the British Isles here. So upcoming 7 days, we've got more heavy precipitation to come, especially across England and Wales, drier across the north, bulk of heaviest precipitation across France and Iberia. We've also got that across the Alpine region, drier conditions across the bulk of Italy, but also notice here southeastern and eastern Europe is seeing some fairly dry conditions over the next week. As that cold air descends, and this is often the case, as that cold air descends down the western flank of the continent, even into northwestern Africa, you often find that there is a push of very warm air, and that is exactly what we're seeing into Eastern Europe here. As the cold air descends southwards over the west, we see warmer getting lifted northwards up the eastern side of the continent here, and you can see this is the latest run of the ECMWF. Now, incidentally, the Easter forecast is based on the GFS run. We're going to look at the ECMWF today, and you can see what's going on. So we've got that continuation of low pressure that is dominating. Look at this here. So look at how tightly packed the isobars are on the southern and western flank of that circulation. So this cold air is getting drafted in. Let's have a look and see actually at the 850s to see what it's showing here. For this would have been 3 a.m. this morning. So you can see here that there is some cold air tucked in, and like I said already, evaporative cooling got a lot of upward motion as well as heavy precipitation. You then cool the column, and therefore we see the precipitation falling as snow. Now we are going to see a somewhat drying trend. Doing well today. Drying trend as as we move into the Easter weekend. You notice here that with the centre of low pressure to the west of the UK and Ireland, we're actually drawing in milder conditions. So what we are going to see is we're going to start to dry things out. We're going to lose the heavy showers and thunderstorm activity over the next 24 hours as we move through the day, Good Friday, tomorrow obviously, into the day on Saturday. Higher pressure is going to then replace that low pressure. We're going to see more in the way of sunshine, and with that late March sunshine being quite strong, we are going to see the temperatures respond. But you see here, as we move through the course of Friday, you've got somewhat milder air at 850 millibars lifted northwards here, and therefore we have less cold conditions. Now, one thing I also will say is with lighter winds and clearer skies, warmer by day, yes, but we also might get some chilly nights as a consequence of those warm sunny days. That is something that needs to get factored in, particularly so. I think possibly Friday night into Saturday, Saturday night into Sunday, and then we've got an area of low pressure we'll look at in just a second that may move in. But you notice here the colder air moving southwards, warmer air moving northwards up the eastern side, and we are going to see likely record warm temperatures to end the month of March in Eastern Europe. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a few March records fall in the next few days. So back to the overview chart here, we'll look at and see what the details are for the next 48 to 72 hours. So very, very messy conditions indeed. Drier, somewhat drier across the northern UK to start the day on Thursday, but then as we progress through the day, we're seeing bands of precipitation moving northwards here. As we continue into Good Friday, you can see here that we do continue to have shower activity, the area of low pressure easing in intensity, kind of slightly filling, still positioned to the west of the UK, and where we've got some incoming solar radiation and you've got relatively chilly air in the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere, you're going to spark off some fairly lively showers and possible thunderstorms, and hail mixed in with gusty winds also. Now, as we progress into the evening hours tomorrow, we're going to lose the dynamics, so we're going to lose the showers, we'll lose the sun, we'll lose the dynamics, we'll lose the upward motion and lift within the atmosphere. Then, as we progress through the course of Saturday, once again, those showers develop, especially with some sunshine. You can see here some of these showers falling in sleet and snow, particularly over the higher ground. Keeping an eye on this developing area of low pressure over the near continent, by the way. The ECMWF has slight differences to the GFS. So you can see here that the conditions calm down. We'll lose the dynamics. We'll have clear skies, light winds once that sun goes down. And then it wouldn't be surprised if we turn somewhat cold as we move from Saturday into Easter Sunday itself. That area of low pressure then kind of moving up the eastern side of the British Isles. And then as we move through the course of Sunday, you can see here that we've got less shower activity over the British Isles. So more in the way of sunshine, less showers. Temperatures are going to respond. I would not be surprised if we see 17 or 18 somewhere in the UK Easter Sunday. Temperatures widely probably about the 12 to 15 or 16 Celsius, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a local 18 somewhere. We've got a kind of southeasterly airflow, as you can see here, and then as we move out of Sunday into Easter Monday, there's that developing area of low pressure that I'm talking about that is going to try and bring showers and possibly longer spells of rain through the course of Easter Monday. Less wet weather, as you can see, across the northern UK, and we've got a bit of a battleground, so to speak, between cold air trying to drift south and warm air trying to drift north, but we're in a bit of a no man's land at the junction of competing air masses, as you can see here, for early Tuesday. So yeah, I'm going to call it quits at that. Live stream 8 p.m. tomorrow. There's not going to be a European outlook late tomorrow afternoon or tea time because of the live stream tomorrow night. going to take Saturday off as usual, and I hopefully will have a video on Sunday. There won't obviously be a live stream because there's one tomorrow night, but I do hope to still do a video on Sunday to keep the content going. And then there also will not be a live stream next weekend because I'm going to actually be away next weekend. So, yeah, that's information that you don't really need to know at this time at the moment. But nonetheless, I'm telling you anyway. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll hopefully see you at 8 p.m. tomorrow for the Easter weather special. Bye for now.